Hello my angels, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be very much fun. We'll begin with the poetry 9 Gold Medals written by David Roth. I urge you to keep your treasure trove books along with you and a pencil or a pen and keep making your notes. This is going to help you a lot while revising your chapters for your examinations. So let's get started. I'll begin discussing from page 36 of your Treasure Trove books. It is an introduction to the poet David Roth. David Roth is an American rock vocalist, songwriter, actor, author, and radio personality. So, you should underline this line. Why? Because in MCQs they can ask you a simple question. What were the different roles that were performed by David Roth in the society? So he was a rock vocalist, he was a songwriter, actor, author and radio personality. अब वो आपको ये फिलअप्स में भी पूछ सकते हैं. They can give you combination of choices and you have to choose the right combination. Anyway, it can come in the examination. He is the lead singer of the famous hard rock band Van Halen. So this is a California based band and is also a successful soloist. So he used to sing songs solo as well, alone. 9 Gold Medals is a poignant record of an incident that takes place at the Special Olympics. Now, Special Olympics is an event which happens once in 2 years. It is specially organized for the people who are intellectually disabled. When differently abled contestants set off for a race, they got ready for a race. Soon after the race begins, one of the contestants has a sharp fall and lies on the tracks, crying out in pain and losing all hope of ever winning the medal for which he had trained so hard. So, all his aspirations, all his dreams of becoming successful and getting a gold medal were in vain. He had lost all hopes when he had a fall. The 8 other contestants, in an outstanding show of empathy. So underline show of empathy. Why? Because this is going to serve as the theme for your poetry. Underline 8 other contestants, which tells that there were total 9 contestants. In MCQs it can be asked. Show of empathy and compassion. Now you should know the meaning of empathy. Empathy means when you can understand a situation by keeping yourself in the place of the person who is suffering from that situation. To be in someone else's shoes. Stop running, return to help him to his feet, and together all 9 of them link arms and walk to the finishing lines. So this is something unexpected. This was something unusual. Keeping aside the competition, the competitors themselves helped their competitor who was out of the competition otherwise. They turned back, they went to him, helped him stand up on his feet, and then they held hands together and a run was reduced to a walk. They were holding hands, there was no spirit of competition between them, and they were helping one another. In recognition of this display of great human compassion, every one of them is awarded a gold medal. Now, to appreciate their effort, to appreciate this humanitarian display of emotions, they were awarded gold medals. Each one was awarded a gold medal. All of them are winners. Of course they are. They have won in the race of humanity. The poem celebrates the spirit of care and compassion. What the world needs now is not more competition, but more cooperation and collaboration. So you must use this point in your subjective answers. Very important that we don't need competition anymore in this world. There is ample of it in the world. Everybody is striving to prove better than the other. We don't need it anymore. What we need is compassion and collaboration and cooperation. Now I'll begin with page 37, that is the text of the poem 9 Gold Medals. Now, this is a narrative poem, you must know. A story is narrated in the form of a poem. It can be sung like a song, although the poem doesn't follow any specific rhyme scheme, but there are certainly some rhyming words in the poetry. The poem has, very less embellishments, or I would say figures of speech. Very less are used, but it certainly has a few of them. The athletes had come from so many countries. So the aspirants, the competitors, the athletes, they had come from different countries to run for the gold, for the silver, and bronze. So they were aspiring to win the medals. Many weeks and months in training. They had spent a lot of months and weeks in training, in doing better, in acing their performance, all building up to the games. And all these efforts were put up by them to prove or to do better in the games, the Special Olympics. The poem has 8 stanzas in total. Each stanza has 4 lines, but the last stanza has 5 lines. All round the field, spectators were gathered. So, all around the field means there were a lot of audiences sitting. The spectators refers to the sports enthusiasts, the audience that was sitting there, they had gathered there. Cheering on all the young men and women. So, cheering on, this is an example of auditory imagery and visual imagery as well. Cheering on all the young men and women. So they were hooting, they were clapping, they were shouting to encourage all the participants. Then the final event of the day was approaching, and the final event, the last event of the evening was going to happen. The last race about to begin. So the last race was going to begin. The loudspeakers called out the names of runners. Loudspeakers called out, that this is auditory imagery. I hope you know what are the imageries. Certain things which appeals to your senses, and you kind of imagine and live, or it creates an image in front of your eyes of a certain thing, that is called imagery. Here the loudspeakers called out the names of the runners. We can imagine the loudspeakers calling out the names of the runners. Therefore it is an example of auditory imagery. The 100 meters race to be run. So 100 meters race, they can ask you in MCQs, what was the last event of the evening or the day? It was 100 meters race. So they were calling out the names of the participants for the race. And 9 young athletes, so there were 9 young athletes who were going to participate, stood there determined. They were determined to prove themselves. They were determined to perform extremely good. And poised means they were positioned, or they were ready there for the sound of the gun. So with the sound of the pistol, they were going to start the race. So they were positioned there so that they could hear to the sound of the pistol shot, and then they could move. This is again visual imagery. The signal was given. The pistol exploded. The signal was given means the sign for beginning the race was given to them. The pistol exploded means the shot was fired from the pistol. And so did the runners on hearing the sound. Means as soon as the sound of the pistol was heard, the runners also set off on their tracks. They also started running. So this can be hyperbole, because they are saying the runners also exploded. Somehow a hint of hyperbole is there, exaggeration is there. But now here, but is hinting at a dramatic twist that is going to happen. But the youngest among them, so they can ask you in the MCQs, who had a sharp fall? It was the youngest athlete. In general, you should know what are the common mistakes. The children write the spellings of athlete wrong. So please learn them by heart. It is ATHLETE, athlete. The youngest among them stumbled and staggered. Now, stumbled and staggered is an example of alliteration. SS sound is repeated. Stumbled and staggered means that youngest athlete, he tripped and then he lost his balance and fell down. and he fell on his knees. So he fell on his knees to the ground. It is again an example of visual imagery. He gave out a cry of frustration and anguish. Now he was feeling, miserable when he fell down. All his dreams, all his aspirations to win, all his desires to prove himself had gone in vain. They were dashed to dust. He gave out a cry of frustration and anguish. Means he was in pain, both physically and mentally. He felt that mental trauma. Why? Because now he could not win the race. His dreams and his efforts dashed in the dirt. His dreams means his desires. His desire to win actually, and his efforts, his hard work, dashed in the dirt. Means they had gone in vain. He could not look ahead that he could still win. But again, there is a hint at another twist. But as sure as I am standing here telling the story. Now, the poet, the narrator is saying that I can assure you that something is going to happen which is going to be extremely unusual. As sure as I am standing here telling the story. Now it's a strange one. He's saying, I can assure you that I am telling you a story or an event which is going to be very strange. But here's what occurred. He's saying there is something what happened. He's now, narrator being a eyewitness, he's assuring you that the thing that he's going to tell is extremely unusual. I'm turning to next page 38. The 8 other athletes stopped in their tracks. Stopped means they stopped running. They stopped there when they heard the sound of their competitor falling down. The ones who had trained for so long to compete. They had been, putting in so much of hard work since so many months and years. But they stopped. One by one, they turned round and came back to help him. Visual imagery, one after the another, they stopped on their tracks. They turned back and came to the youngest athlete who had a sharp fall and lifted the lad to his feet. Lifted the lad means they helped him get up and stand on his feet. So lifted the lad, again alliteration, LL. Next stanza. Then all 9 runners joined hands and continued. The 9 runners means this is a specific choice. Earlier he was calling them athletes, now he's calling them runners. Why? Because they were going to run in 100 meters race. But see what happens. Then all 9 runners joined hands and continued. The runners, they held each other's hands and continued the race. They started moving. The 100 meters race reduced to a walk. They reduced that run to a mere walk. They held hands and started walking towards the finishing line. What does it show? It is an extreme display of solidarity, compassion that did not leave their competitor behind. They held his hand and helped him move towards the finishing line. And the banner above that said, so there was a banner above which said Special Olympics, which was the literal name given to the event, could not have been nearer the mark. Means it could not have achieved a relevance. It could not be that special if this event would not have ended the way it did. If the athletes had not held each other's hands and walked towards the finishing line. That's how the race ended. With 9 gold medals, they came to the finish line holding hands still. So they came to the finishing line and they were still holding hands with 9 gold medals. Now, of course, as they approached the finishing line together, so they were given gold medals. Each one had won a gold medal. They came to the finishing line holding hands still, and the banner above and 9 smiling faces said more than these words ever will. The poet says that his words cannot explain that how happy and cheerful that event was, how exemplary that event was. But the banner above, which said Special Olympics, and the 9 happy faces, the happy faces which showed that they had not just won the race, they had also won the race of life. They had become happy because they had shown extreme solidarity, compassion, and empathy. Said more than these words ever will. Means his words, the poet's words cannot convey how much happy event this was. Said more than these words ever will. So this line is repeated for the sake of emphasis. Again, that is repetition, figure of speech. Now, these differently abled people had actually done something very different. They had shown the world that this world does not need competition, they need compassion. We need to treat each other in a better manner. We need to stop thinking selfishly. Now, the spectators, those who had gathered there to cheer up the athletes, they wanted to see the race, they wanted to see the competition. But what they witnessed was what is true sportsman spirit, and they saw some happy 9 faces, whereas they were expecting to see just 3. So, this event shows that today's world needs compassion. Today's world needs true sportsman spirit. Our sports are not just about competition, they are about celebration of human ideals. They are about competition but a healthy one. Now, certain points to remember. There is theme of sportsman spirit, like true sportsman spirit. Then theme of empathy is there, celebration of humanistic ideals like compassion, empathy, kindness. Then no specific rhyme scheme, but there are rhyming words. For example, in the third stanza, run and gun. Second and fourth line, they're rhyming like run and gun. Then next stanza, sound and ground. Then in fifth stanza, there is no rhyme. In sixth one, compete and feet are rhyming. Then in the last stanza, still and will is rhyming again. So these are some words which rhyme. Figures of speech we discussed. In the third stanza, race to run, RR is repeating. So that is alliteration. So my dear children, that's all for the poem 9 Gold Medals. I hope all your doubts are sorted. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel, and keep waiting for more updates and videos. Bye bye children.